All right, Coach. Well, you ready to go 100 yards?
I'm ready to go 100 yards.
All right. Now, you grew up in Hickory, North Carolina, correct?
I did. Well, people told me it was 3 hours, but I can make it in less than 3.
What was that like? I know it was a small town. What was that? And I grew up in a small town also. How important was sports to that town?
It was everything. I mean, everything around Hickory revolved around sports.
Now, I know you got some history with Tennessee.
I did.
At one point in your life, you want to talk about that?
Well, you know, really, I remember coming to a football game and sitting in a student section with everybody, and it was a game that they did beat Tulsa, but also the Ernie and Bernie show was going on, and you know, Tennessee, and when I first got here, it was the biggest place I'd ever really seen. You know, I just thought this place was awesome.
What did you think now coming back this year? I know you're at the first home game this year. What were your thoughts there when you saw this place?
Well, I can tell you without question. I mean, you think about it. I've coached at, everybody talks about football schools. I've coached at Clemson. I've coached at Alabama. I've coached at Ohio State. I've coached at Texas. And without
Those
question,
are some football schools.
and without question, that atmosphere here against Oklahoma was without question the loudest I've ever heard any stadium of any type. You talk about a group of fans that cheered and stayed with the team, was one of the most impressive things I've ever seen.
Well, they're ready to go for basketball too now.
Well, you know what, and I know that because I saw that when we brought a team in here with Kevin Durant. I saw the excitement, and I know. I mean, the University of Tennessee basketball program has a history, and it has a tradition.
Speaking of, you brought up Kevin Durant, obviously one of your prized pupils from your days at Texas. What would he be like as a football player?
Well, I think he'd be great at anything because he can be identified with one word, and that's passion. He thrives on the big moment. You know, he's the brighter the lights, the better he is, and he's not afraid to take the final shot, whether it goes in or not. If it misses it the next game, it's not going to faze him at all. He's going to go again.
Well, he'd be a heck of a tight end.
Well, I just know one thing: whatever he was, he'd be great at it.
Now, I can't miss this moment here, being on a football field with you, to bring up Friday Night Lights.
Yeah.
Now, when you got hired as basketball coach, that was my first reaction because I was a big fan of that show. He goes, hey, he was on Friday Night Lights as a football coach.
Well, and I do have my SAG card.
Do you?
Yeah, I do have my SAG. And every now and then I get a little bit of a little royalty check. Very small.
Well, probably for me, I bought a lot of those on Netflix and iTunes. Had a lot of those episodes.
I've said before, I've worked for some just great athletic directors. And when Dave Hart and I started talking, I mean, it's, it's so easy to sense
a special place, no matter what you're doing.
And he loves it. Yeah. And I think in a short time, you look at the impact that he's made. And I do think one of the great hires that he's ever made was bringing Butch Jones here, because Butch is a special guy. And but the more I'm here, you can really sense the one Tennessee that Dave Hart is always talking about. It really is some exciting times, and I can tell you, I've been a part of some different situations, and I can tell you where we are right now here at Tennessee. It's getting ready to explode for all of us, and it's exciting.
Yeah, I can't wait for basketball. I know it's going to be special, but we're just glad to have you.
Well, I appreciate that, and I can tell you that my staff, we're all extremely grateful, and we're blessed to know that we have this opportunity. And again, I go back to, you talk about the football staff, everyone here, and it starts at the very top, the way they just spread their arms out and said, you're part of us. Right. And even going around town and around here, I know and I understand what it means with that volunteer pride. I get it. And I'm excited because, again, being on this field, I couldn't believe it. I mean, I've seen it before, but not to sustain it like that. And as we talked, I've seen it in the Thompson-Boling Arena. Now it's a matter of us really giving our fans something and making this university proud.
Well, we're great. Let's walk into the checkerboard together, and thank you again. I appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate you. Thanks. Good to see you.
Yep.
And there's some great seats here, isn't there?
Yeah, there is.